boy?
Hey, bud, I'm good, and you?
Good to see your face, bro. What is going on?
Yes, is what the $1 million question.
Fuck, you're right. It is $1 million question. What is going on in the world, bro? What is going on in your world?
Yes. Yes, bud. Yeah, a lot of stuff, eh? I think I told you, I've been working with these guys for, I don't know, about 6 months now. Basically setting up a foundation for people that are just like kind of concerned with the way the world is going, should we say, and I guess concerned about their freedom and their autonomy, and basically helping set up like these smaller groups and communities to sort of weather the storm of that's ahead. But so I've been working quite hard on that stuff actually, which has been really interesting because there's lots of things to it. I mean, the guys that I'm working with are not fucking around. I can tell you that. Like they've set up their own currency, set up their own banks, storage vaults, got like farming communities in terms of people for food and water. They got companies that are doing food, water distilling, so it's it's quite an amazing operation, but yeah.
Yeah. This is amazing, bro. And you don't feel like these people are those, like you always hear about those people that the doomsday sort of prophecies that end up, building bunkers under their house and storing bully beef for years on end, and then, these guys obviously have an insight as to what's going on that has mobilized them to take such actions.
Yeah, but look, some of them are kind of preppers, and have been prepping for a while. But I think that most of the people that I've come into like interaction with are just normal people like you and me, like they just kind of they're like, oh, something's a little bit fishy, like things just don't seem quite right now. You know what I mean? So it's mostly just normal people really, but that are just concerned, about all this sort of coercion and pressure being applied in society at the moment. So yeah. And ultimately these guys, I think you would think like almost everyone just wants to be free and, have free reign over their own lives and not be like treated like a flippin' kid and micromanaged every single move that you do. So yeah, it's there's always all sorts, and some are preppers, but the majority are just people like you and me, really.
So what is, like, if you had to say, look, Ryan, this would be the best, these are the 3 things that I should take action on to sort of give myself a little bit of security and psychological safety for the scenarios that you guys are talking about, what action could a guy like me take to actually try and shore up against some kind of stripping away of my freedom?
Yes. Well, I mean, the main things that people are talking about are getting control of your own food sources. That's number one. So learn how to grow food. And, I mean, of course, this is not possible for everybody, but these are the main things that people are talking about. So it's food, it's water, and it's basically just getting your mind right, just sort of being awake and questioning what's going on, you have to basically prepare your mind for, I guess, the worst in some ways, just so that nothing is really a surprise. Do you know what I mean? It sounds kind of negative and that sort of stuff, but I don't really see it as that. I see it as prepare for the worst, hope for the best sort of thing. And then if it sort of happens halfway, then you're like, oh shit, that's okay, I'm cool. And then even if it does get as bad as you think it might get, you're ready for it mentally. Humans don't really like surprises, and that's what sort of puts us off kilter, off balance. And but if we prepared mentally, then we're okay because we're expecting something. So yeah, but and then I mean, what you do already is you get out into nature and outdoors and stuff pretty much every day. You know, you have to. They're saying people have to find that connection with the outdoors again. You know, like literally remove the anxiety as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? Because there is a lot of anxiety in the world right now.
So much.
Do you know what I mean?
Everybody's feeling it.
And it's everyone, but it's not just like it's not just people that are fucking super scared of like the virus and that sort of stuff. You know, like it's also people that are, you know, like I guess like you and me. You know, me probably more than you. You know, you're a very, very optimistic, upbeat, energetic guy. Like with that doesn't necessarily always see the world the way I do. I probably like I've been saying, I probably like I don't know. Maybe I just do think of how bad things can get. You know, not that I'm not like super positive and that these sort of things, but I think I generally am. But I'm also kind of, I think, realistic in terms of what might happen. So shit. What was the question again? Oh, I forgot where I was going.
It was a bit of a spin around about what should you do and what, but I think your point about like being mentally prepared that things could go in that direction prepares you to be able to take action in the moment when and if it does.
Exactly.
And I think World War II was a very good point. You know, the Jews that got stuck in Austria and Germany, the ones that didn't think that it was gonna go where it did, ended up being immobilized and stuck. The ones that took action early on got out
100%.
Because they thought like what you're thinking, and they were able to maneuver and get to America and get to safe havens before shit actually went down.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like a frog in that warm water. You know, you put them in water and you slowly boil, but you don't feel the temperature rising until it's too fucking late, bud. And so I think, you know, having that slightly pessimistic view on the world that things possibly could fucking go in that state is almost like it's a way for you to prepare yourself to be able to get to safety when you need to, instead of being immobilized by it and then still have this lens of almost like disbelief, like, you know, this is not happening.
Yeah. And that's a problem. I mean, many people are in denial right now, I think, you know, like, and it's, you have to know what your kind of enemy is doing, and therefore you need to be defensive, but then also ready to, like, you know, go on attack sort of thing. And that gives you the option to mobilize. I think what I was saying before was the anxiety, and that it's on both ends of the spectrum. You know, like it's people that are scared of, say, the virus. It's people that are scared about the way the world is going and that they're going to lose control and all these sort of, you know, the freedom and all these sort of things. So it's like, and then there's all this other shit going on that's, like, in my opinion, manufactured to create division within society, and that just causes us fighting with each other, like on ridiculous things that are going, like ridiculous things, you know. And yeah, so that just raises the level of anxiety everywhere. So it's very difficult, you know, like to almost like communicate sometimes, you know, to try and find a bit of middle ground. But yeah, it's I don't know, it just seems, I don't know, they seem to be upping the ante right now everywhere with, like, almost like this medical apartheid, which is kind of worrying, you know, like it's really worrying actually, that there's only one side of the conversation that is being entertained and the other one is completely censored, you know, like, fucking hell, it's ridiculous in my mind, you know. Like, I'm reading some things like Oaks are saying, like, oh, so it's okay for me to have AIDS and flipping, you know, an STD and flipping this disease and that disease and this disease and whatever, like all these crazy diseases, you know. And I can get on a plane and sit next to you, and that's cool. That's no worries. But I can't, you know, but if I have flipping none of those and I do have coronavirus, there's no ways I can go, you know. Like, it's like, what are we just forgetting that there's all these other things in the world? This is like, it's so insane, but it's hard to get your head around all this shit.
So hard to get around it, man. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling, bro. but the conscious collective is everything at the moment, bud. You know, and this is happening because consciousness has a plan, right? It has it knows where it's going in terms of its evolution, and it's difficult for the human mind to comprehend it because the human mind believes that it is all controlling, which is, it's not. It's just a vehicle for consciousness to move and to evolve into the next iteration of what's going on. And so when we see these energetic purges happening, and we see this level of vibration and chaos happening, which is necessary for the next, you know, the next layer of evolution, the mind thinks that that chaos is a negative and a bad thing and must be fought tooth and nail, when actually it's going to happen anyway, regardless. But on both sides of the spectrum, you're going to have the minds being used by consciousness to create and to move and to come up with the new ways of living and harmonizing and being in community and, you know, sourcing food. And on this side, you're going to see the old ways, this sort of young boy egoic mind that's destroyed the planet for so long, kick up an even bigger fuss for a while until eventually it's put to bed.
Yeah, it feels like it, but it feels like, there is this battle, you know, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a battle, because ultimately what's going to happen does happen. But it doesn't mean that we can't, at the same time, like you said, try and be the light, you know, as well. Like, you know, you always have to know what the fuck's going on, because like the reason that we are in this position now is because we kind of let our guards down, I feel, you know, because most people are like, happy go lucky, cool life, I'm just living, without kind of like keeping an eye on flipping what's going on, is, you know, so that's why we are now. But like, you can always outshine everything, you know, like happiness and love and all that stuff is definitely the higher energy than all this other thing, all the other evilness or whatever you want to call it going on, I feel. And it always is, but it always is. It's sometimes difficult to realize that, you know, especially when we're bombarded with just negativity. You know, so you're like, fuck, am I the only one? Like, you know, like, it's easy to feel isolated, because we lost control of all the big industries and stuff, but it is a bit of a, I think it feels like a bit of a final battle now, you know. The old school actually realizes they're losing power, and they're now fighting tooth and nail to keep it, but they're really on thin ice, you know what I mean? And we, the people, are waking up in our droves, and we're realizing, okay, cool, yeah, you know, you've had your time. Now we're gonna start doing all of our own things, you know. And there's tons of people that are waking up to what's going on, which is super positive, you know. We just need to hold the fort, hold the line now, you know, because it can still go either way, I feel.
For sure, bro. So awareness is everything, right? And the unaware will be sucked into the one side, and the aware will hopefully be able to make plans to move into the light, like you said. And I really believe that every human has the choice to be a light worker, and that as you start to spread awareness and start to spread love, and as you start to move in ways that are more conducive to happiness and joy and to helping each other, bro, the more that all of us benefit. So bud, what affects one affects all at the end of the day. And it comes back to this whole concept of oneness, bro. Like, none of us are individuals just sitting here doing our own thing, immune to everybody else. Like, fuck no, bud. This is a collective thing, and everything affects everybody, bro, all the time.
Exactly.
All the time.
It's a constant dance, but like, it just with each other, you know. And, you know, if you do something negative, it impacts me. If I do something negative, it impacts you. If you do something good, it impacts me, and the same, you know, same vice versa. So like, but it's it's interesting times. I actually feel that like there's a reason that we are on this earth at this point in time. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, like,
no doubt, bro. Our souls have chosen to be here during this stage.
Exactly. So we need to decide, okay, cool, or at least realize, okay, cool, I'm in this moment for a reason, and I want to make the most of that, you know. And we've all got to make a choice in how we want this to kind of end up, or at least try influence a little bit if possible. But crazy
Well, I'm
times.
really excited to hear more about your project and how it goes, brother. Like,
Mm.
I'm sure you're learning a ton and it's opening your eyes up to a whole nother dimension of what's happening on the planet.
Yes, but tell me about it. I mean, and you spoke in the beginning, like about like, is it like these like old school prepper types? Yes. Some of the presentations I've been on and like conversations, but I mean, some people are way out there, but like way out there. Like guys go, yeah, you guys are conspiracy theorists with some of your thoughts, and I'm like, trust me. No, you've heard nothing. You've heard nothing. Like I literally sit on some of these calls and I'm going, yes, what is going on in your head? Do you know what I mean? but
Yeah.
but part of me is like, okay, cool, that's your reality, like,
That's
and
exactly
also,
it, bro. And if that gives you psychological safety and you feel that having fucking,
mm,
a bunker full of bully beef makes you feel safe and better in the world, then
mm,
that's your shoes, bro. And this is the thing, I had this discussion the other day, but like just talking about this whole concept of truth and reality, and just how every single person, bro, has their own unique view of what is reality, and that reality is true
uh-huh,
because it is viewed from a lens of experience. And so but it's incredible to hear each other's truths.
yeah.
And and even more beautiful when you step away from like this old mindset, bro, of judgment, where
Mm,
he's constantly like, oh fuck, that oak is like definitely got it all wrong. It's like, fuck,
yeah,
in his
yeah,
head, that is his world. And yeah, and that exists, but in an infinite sea of possibility, bro. It
yeah,
all exists.
yeah, and it is, and it's difficult, but it's difficult sometimes to realize that, as well. I think, like, because it could be a close friend of yours and they've got like a certain view on something, and you're like, fucking hell, really, like, and it's and that, like, that's what's the world's currently going through, this metamorphosis of like all these different views, and it's creating, like, it's creating certain issues, and people are disagreeing, and ending things on many levels, which is sad, but also maybe it's just part of what's meant to happen. um
But
yeah,
it's all necessary. It's
yeah,
all necessary. So
exactly.
yes, I mean, the nostalgic part of us looks at things the way they were, and oh, it's so sad
Mm,
that doesn't happen anymore. But mate, we are on the constant edge of the next thing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Every second is something new that's never been experienced before, and so we can't look back and go, oh, it's so sad that all. But it's been like that since day one. You
mm-hmm.
know, it's only there for a moment, and then it moves and it changes and it becomes something different. And so we have to look forward, but forward with optimism, and with this mindset that everything is possible. And so if you choose to go one direction and take the action to get there, then you will create your reality the way that you want to, and that will never change, right? Everybody's reality is one of creation, so let's not forget that either, that we get to choose and we get to create always our own existential reality.
Yeah, for sure. Here's one thing that you touched on that I've been like chatting a bit with Craig on, is truth. Like we're busy like kind of going a bit back and forth, like in terms of like trying to define truth, I guess, in one way. And one of the things we spoke about literally yesterday was like, cool. Well, we're sort of like discussing it within ourselves, but let's chat to a few other people, about what does truth mean to you. So like, yeah, like throwing it out there. What does it mean to you?
Are you asking me what is
Yeah,
truth?
yeah. For you, what is truth?
I think truth is when you look or experience or see or hear something and it resonates with you. In other words, you don't feel a conflict, it feels like it's right in that moment with the lens of awareness that you have at that time. So for me, truth also uh, continuously changes, because if you had to ask me about something when I was 20 and maybe look at the same subject now when I'm 40, my truth and opinion and idea about that same thing would have changed. because of the experience I've gained, the different way that I look at the world now, better understanding, different experience. So for me, truth is, I would say truth is a highly personal thing and changes depending on your current state of mind.
Awesome. Because that's literally touches, because we'd only really come up so far with two, I don't know what you want to call them, two things that defined our truth. And one of them was like, the present moment is always the truth, right? Like and that's pretty much what you're saying now. In yours has got a bit more meat to it there. But like you can't deny that what's going on now, right this second, is the truth. Okay, like that is actually what's happening for every single one of us. That is what is happening. So that is not like misinformation or whatever. But and the other one that we came up with is that nature is truth. So if you go, and once again, it also comes back, I guess, to the present moment. But if you go out into nature, but and you decide, okay, cool, I'm going to take my tent and I'm going to go camp for a couple of days, and I'm going to I'm just going to try, I'm going to just camp for a couple of days, right? There is no denying that everything that is going on while you are out there is the truth, right? Like literally, you might be starving and you can't do anything about it. You'll kill an animal and eat it and burn it, and you'll have to drink water from the river, and like the birds that are making a noise at that time, like that's all, like you can't deny that that's the truth. So something that's in motion in nature is the truth. But thinking about it, maybe the definition is actually much more simple. Just saying that out loud, like the definition is like the present moment is the truth, pretty much.
Which is exactly right. It's exactly right, because everything else is made up. Everything else is a projection of thought pattern into the future based on something that you've recognized or learned from the past. And so it's purely a holographic perception of things that haven't happened yet. So right now, in this moment, as we look at each other, and you really switch on your senses and you suddenly recognize the chair underneath you, and you see the colors in front of you, and you feel the breath right now. This is the only true thing right now.
Yeah.
And then everything else fades, right? It's almost like all your worry and stress fades because you're so in the now. And therefore you could probably also layer that if truth is the present, then the present is also peace.
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily always. I mean, not always the peace, depending on where you are, it could be, I don't know, could be
being shot at
Afghanistan or something. You know what I mean? That's not
running down the street with burning tires.
Slightly
different, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's an interesting one, because the reason is, like, I guess we were talking about it was because, like, someone will go like, man landed on the moon and stuff, and other oaks will go, no, that's bullshit. Like, that's total crap. Just look at the videos. It's all made up. Like, so So that's where the whole idea about like speaking about truth came from. Like okay, how do we define truth in a world of so much misinformation,
Yes.
And of course it's still bigger than that, because there is stuff you do want to know. Okay, is this true? Like, is that true? What happened back then, and what, you know what I mean? Like, but
it's an interesting one, but let's just say that they didn't get a rocket to the moon, and that Armstrong didn't actually like physically get onto the moon.
Yeah.
Does it make our idea of what happened any different? Like,
I think what it does, the idea, well, it does, like, I was going to call you love.
Don't you just tell me how you really feel about me?
Yes, but this is the truth. You see, it always exposes itself. No, but I think if something like that was like proven to be false, can you imagine the distrust like that would happen? There would actually be, I mean, there would be a lot of denial to start with.
Plenty.
But then there would be like rage, but because you can only think about it like with yourself, if say you're in a relationship or you got a mate or whatever, and you find out he fucking told you a lie, and it actually was a lie that hurt you, you're like, okay, if he's going to lie about that, what else is he lying about? So that's what happens. Like if something like that, say, was bullshit, then Oaks go, well, okay, what about all these other things that we have? There's also questions about, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it does create a big issue, going forward. Yeah, so I don't know. That's what I think. What do you think? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, especially it does make a difference in the fact that, there's a huge level of trust with people in our lives, right? And we have to trust each other to feel safe and secure. And if someone tells you something, especially something like that about what humanity has done, and that has been your truth for so long, to suddenly have that ripped away and be like, oh, well, actually, that was all a fucking lie, which, to be honest, happens to us all the fucking time, Gareth. How many times, bro, are we told one thing and then 5 years later it comes out that actually it was a fuck up, and yet it's almost like most of us just like, oh, well, that's fucked, and then we just continue as normal, and we let the same fucking people stay in power. Why are we like that, dude? Why do we not like force like a repercussion to happen when somebody fucks up? Like this Fauci, dude, he needs to be fucking burned at the stake.
Yeah.
And yet I guarantee he'll get away scot-free, and in 5 years' time, it'll be some distant figure that nobody fucking really knows what happened to, and he'll be there with his fucking millions in some protected place of power.
My only thought, bud, is that people are just too comfortable, like they're not necessarily like it sort of affects people, but doesn't really. Like it's not until something really, really impacts you, like I don't know, I'll think of an example, but like it's not until something really impacts you that you're like, no, fuck this shit. Now I'm actually going to go do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, and also most people just want to, live. And I think they just want to get on with things. So like, and people are also super forgiving, eh? Like humans don't realize it, but we are so forgiving. Think about like bloody Bill Clinton, right? Being flipping with Monica Lewinsky, the bloody president of America, doing what he did, right? I mean, look at him now. Like it's almost like people forgot what he did, and I'm not saying like that they shouldn't, but it's in human nature to forgive. So
it is, because do you know why? Because we're all capable of the things that we see other people doing.
Exactly.
So it's not like, oh, that person was cheated on his wife, bro. Fuck, how many of us would do that?
Exactly. Right.
And also, how do you know in the position that if you were in his shoes, having had his exact experience, you would have done exactly the same thing? And so I guess deep down inside, we do recognize that we are all everything.
Exactly.
And then who are we to stand on a soapbox and fucking judge anybody in any position, bro? What we should be is like, oh, fuck, there we go. There's another human being doing something which as a society we've said is incorrect or unacceptable. And yet, how many of the rules that we put up for ourselves do we fucking actually not even really believe in, and that we follow in because we were told that is the way things are?
Yes, you're so right, bud. That is, yes, see, that's such a good explanation, eh? Like, yes, like it's so many of us like have done such stupid, shitty things in our lives, and yet we will, like you said, we will get on our virtue signaling soapbox and fucking try call people out. Meanwhile, you like even have to take like you take some, like let's take a guy like fucking Bill Gates, right? One of my favorite humans.
Gates is getting it today, man.
Yes, man. No, but like you take him for example, right? Like he's such a fucking hypocrite. Like he will tell you and write a book on climate change. Meanwhile, he goes and buys like what is it called? I don't know what it's called, but like a fleet. That's the word. A fleet of private jets. You know what I mean? Like everyone does. Like and that's a bad example, but lots of people will say one thing and do another. And lots of us will say one thing and in public, and then we will and like, oh no, this is bad. Then we'll go and do the same thing. And I guess we all need to look at ourselves and deep down and go, okay, cool. Well, how am I contributing to all of this? And am I actually kind of part of the problem? Or yeah, or do I really want to make a difference? Yeah, it's an interesting one, but it's an interesting one to think about. We're all fallible, but like all of us, you know what I mean? Like,
Human,
and that's human, exactly, and that is human, you know, like, and yeah, but we do need, yeah, we do, I don't know, we still need some sort of like guiding principles or values, you know, that we should try and govern ourselves by, you know what I mean? And maybe they're as simple as, I don't know, love and trust, and then base your actions on those. I don't know, but like, yeah, that's just my reality.
yeah. And I mean, how, you know, and here's, so the structure of our reality is so illusory also, right? Because it's all like, if I can, it's just a mental agreement on a lot of things. And we both look at things and we go, okay, that's the way things are. Do you agree? Yeah. Okay. You know, that color we're going to call silver. That's the truth. Okay. That was just a fucking mental construct for us to, you know, cope and to arrange stuff on this planet in this 3D world that we're in.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro. But truth is so much bigger and so much more elusive than what we think also, because we only seen such a small aspect of everything. You know, such a small aspect of the bigger totality. I mean, just in your town, you only know what you know. We live in where you are, bro. Like, you think the town is one way and things are going on one way, but fuck, how much do you not know? Exactly. Never mind the country you're in, then the world that you're in, then the cosmos that we're in, brother. We know nothing, absolutely nothing. And so truth is also just, I think you can safely say, your truth is based only on what you know. And then you've also got to know that you don't know really much. And that, fuck, the real truth is probably beyond us in this form at the moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's interesting. So interesting, but like just thinking about these things and trying to navigate our thoughts and our position in the world, and does it even mean anything sometimes, you know? Like, I was like thinking today, I was like, what the fuck happens, like, you know, all the things I'm thinking about now and like trying to do and whatever, and all of us, you know, but then what happens if you just get hit by a bus and that's it, it's the end? Okay, what does all that stuff mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's like, fuck, everything is so important. And yes, these ideas are there's depth to them. But then at the same time, none of it matters, man. So think about it, because we've been given this mind to do it and to articulate it and to really grapple with it and talk about it. And yes, that's part of our fucking beautiful experience. But then in the end, don't fucking fret it or stress it, bro, because yeah, like you say, but 1 second later and we all walk through that door, and then none of this really fucking meant anything, bro.
Yeah. Yes, but it's a good way to probably finish, like, you know, or it's always good just to finish with something to think about, isn't it?
I want to just quickly on that point, it just reminds me of this picture I saw. It was from one of these satellites, like fucking way out in space, but there was like going to Venus, I think, and they tilted the camera back to look at Earth. And there you just saw literally, but like, it looked like, you know, like sometimes in your room with the sunlight, you can see the dust in the sunlight, right?
Yeah.
And so there was Earth, and it literally just looked like a little speck of dust, just sort of suspended on a ray of sun, and with an arrow pointing to it. And it said, here is where every single historical person, where every single war, where every single, like, you know, birth of animal and human has ever happened.
It's crazy, but I've seen that one. I know exactly what you're talking
about. What I'm talking about.
Like, it puts everything into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you're like, fuck.
Exactly. And then you are just one of the people in that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, guys, let's take ourselves less seriously, you know, like, yeah, yeah, it's still true. I think it's just within our nature trying to find that balance as well, isn't it? You know, like you want to do something and make a difference, but then at the same time, fuck it, does it really make a difference? Yeah.
So enjoy making the difference without attachment to any outcome or result. Because at the end of the day, the result for all of us is the same, but all of us were the same. And in another 1,000 years, there may not be one human being left, in which case, hey, you know, someone else will look at us like we look at the dinosaurs these days.
Yeah. Yes. Wow, bud. That's awesome. Thanks for the chat today, my boy.
Thank you, my brother. Love you, China. Great to see your face.
You too, my boy. See you later, buddy.
Thank you. Ciao.
Cheers, man.